how our gurus interacted with oppressive tyrants. Once again, we have the first picture of people fighting, Sikhs fighting at the Akal Takht, something that would have been unthinkable in previous generations. And we have the second picture of Badal receiving the Surupa at the Akal Takht. In the 20th century, only 3 Gursikhs were honored with a Surupa: Bhagt Pooran Singh, Baba Khadak Singh, and Bhai Ranveer Singh, all of whom were exemplary Gursikhs. For example, Bhagt Pooran Singh devoted his entire life to serving the disabled and marginalized populations of Punjab. And now, in 2011, Badal was given a Surupa and the title of Pant Ratan Pakare Kaum, which translates to the jewel and pride of the Sikh Panth. This is someone who has repeatedly broken promises made to our Guru and the Panth of the Akal Takht, not to mention issues with severe corruption. So we are one of the world's largest states, and yet are the only one without our own independent governing body. All other major faiths, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Baha'i, Judaism, have systems of governance that don't come under government interference. The Sikhs in Punjab and the diaspora possess no ability to independently develop decisions without the direct interference of the state. So the SGPC emerged from the Sikh Gurdwara Act in 1925. The role of the SGPC was to run all historical Gurdwaras in what was formerly Punjab. However, any amendment to the Gurdwara Act and to how the SGPC was actually run had to be passed by the Central Assembly at New Delhi. This still applied post-independence. As a minor example, when the head Granthi reaches the age of 65, they have to retire because technically they're the employee of the government. More importantly, if we wanted to amend how the SGPC is run, from either it's like election bylaws or to the role the Jathedar plays, this would actually have to go through the Indian government and a bill would have to be passed. Our destiny is out of our hands and controlled by a state that had actively discriminated and persecuted us for decades. Control of our communities' institutions is fought over by political parties, and instead of being supreme body, as Guru Gobind Singh Sahib created it to be, the Akal Takht's now become a pawn of politicians. And we need a revival for Sikh institutions separate from politics and the state. As Sant Bir Singh mentioned, the purpose of the Panth is to do seva. Even in the 1700s, like he was mentioning, despite almost being hunted to extinction and living in dire situations, the Khalsa continued to fight the tyranny of the Mughal Empire. It would still go out and rescue people, and we've lost this beautiful legacy of seva and social justice and social responsibility. Today, we have become the marginalized. Just for an example, the picture in the bottom middle, it's the darker red area, which represents Punjab, corresponds to an increasingly skewed male to female ratio. And it just, all these issues depicted here on the slide, they're entrenched social, cultural, and economic problems, and freeing of Akal Takht isn't going to solve them overnight. But at least it would allow for our massive resources to be redirected to be used to do something productive. And these resources, which are generated from the Panth, yet we have absolutely no control over. So, why have we failed? Where have we gone wrong? So since the end of the Sarbat Khalsa era, we've governed ourselves using primarily 2 models. The first one was a monarchy under Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and the second, the SGPC, being a British parliamentary style. So the system of Ranjit Singh was based on Hindu and Islamic polity. The decisions were made by Ranjit Singh unilaterally with the advice of an appointed cabinet. Ranjit Singh was an able administrator. He ran a fair and just state. He was inclusive of Muslims and Hindus and treated everybody with respect. But the power was stripped from the Khalsa and centered at the institution of the king in Lahore. And once Ranjit Singh passed away, the monarchy was easily corrupted, undermined, and quickly dismantled. And then obviously the monarchy had deficiencies, but most importantly, it's not consistent with our Sikh models of governance provided by our gurus, a model that includes all Sikhs as a part of a collective decision-making process. The parliamentary style. So the SGPC was modeled on the British parliamentary style, and decisions are made by whichever political party wins a majority of seats through general election. The system worked relatively well when those running the system were Panthist-minded, but within 30 years of its creation, the system had become corrupt. Elections have become increasingly unethical with drugs, alcohol, and money openly being used to win votes, and the control of the SGPC is tied to the Punjab state and Indian federal politics. And this, in addition to what we discussed earlier, with the Indian state having control over the SGPC, is really not an ideal system for a Sikh governance model. So both models are contrary, governance run contrary to ideals. The power is concentrated in elites instead of the people as represented by the Khalsa Panth. There's no space for diverse opinions, criticism, and dialogue. There's a lack of consensus-based decision-making. And the independence of our public institutions is completely undermined. There's no accountability of openness in the system. So the point isn't to reform the SGPC. We need to revive our own traditional systems given to us by our gurus. When we try other systems, we fall apart. When we use our own traditional systems, we can achieve a lot. For example, in the 1700s, despite having almost no resources, we were able to free Punjab in 40 to 50 years. Banda Singh Bahadur freed 50% of Punjab within 3 years, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji's passing away. Even during independence from under the British rule, the Sikh Panth actually played a major role, and this is when the SGPC was run by Panthic-minded individuals, and we're now 30 million Sikhs. Just imagine what we can do. So we'll just go a bit into, what free thoughts like this and how we can move forward. So Guru Nanak Sahib, with direct inspiration from the divine, created a unique path, not for just individuals, but also for society at large. And Sanfir Singh, talked a lot about this. And we have, models of Sikh polity which are developed by the 10 gurus. Akal, by definition, is timeless, non-temporal, and these great institutions of Akal Takht, Panch Pyare, Khalsa, and Sarbat Khalsa, developed by our gurus, are timeless. We all know the Panth has serious problems. We all know things should be different. And instead of talking and dreaming, now is the time to plan and organize. We need to plan for when we have regained our right to govern ourselves as a sovereign institution. Now is the time we pick up our pens and we have to start writing and creating how we can run our community and move forward. And we have to create goals that we can work towards as a nation. Instead of looking to outside systems, let's just go back to the authentic Sikh institutions that Sanfir Singh talked about. Every challenge we have faced has been addressed by the gurus. We've, for a long time now, assumed that we know better than the gurus, but we should really just try to have our government institutions relevant while staying true to the principles and ideals that they're based on. So really what we have to do is focus on our guru and then on history. So we've explored 4 institutions, the Akal Takht, Panch Pyare, the Guru Khalsa Panth, and Sarbat Khalsa. Now, we've sort of, Sanfir gave us a brief understanding of how they fit together, actually quite not brief, but we'll see how they relate to the supreme authority in Sikhi, which is Guru Granth Sahib. So this is just sort of a rough framework of how the institutions fit together. We have the supreme authority, which is the Guru Granth Sahib, and the Guru rules from the Akal Takht, which is the manifestation of Guru's sovereignty. The Panch Pyare are also seated on the throne, but they will always be below the Guru. For example, the Piri Kirpans of the Guru Har Gobind Singh Ji, the Piri Kirpan is longer. And amongst the 2 Nishan Sahib, the Akal Takht, one of them is higher, and this is because the Guru is the ultimate authority and the basis of our principles. The Sarbat Khalsa is a representative body of the Khalsa, and the Khalsa Panth with decision-making powers, and it's a way for the Khalsa Panth or the Sikh Qawm to be part of the collective decision-making and be part of the Akal Takht. So, what is the Khalsa Panth? Who makes up the Khalsa Panth? And we have to return to our inclusive past. Called a Sikh is anyone who self-identifies as a Sikh based on the Sikh Rahit Maryada definition of Sikh. We have to think bigger. We have to put aside small doctrinal issues, like Sanfir was saying, like like Ragmala, whether to eat meat or not, and we have to be inclusive. When the Sikh Qawm fought for freedom, they didn't ask, like Sanfir was saying, how long the other person's rahraz is, or how long the kashera is, or what color the style they wore. They saw the Panth doing something and they joined in. And we've lost that action-oriented, being an action-oriented community. So what will the Sarbat Khalsa look like? So similar to before, and remember, these are just starting points. We want to start a conversation of creating a governance framework that reflects our government principles and the legacy that was given to us by gurus. This is just a proposal. We want everyone to join in and make suggestions to amend and grow this model. So the Sarbat Khalsa, it could be composed of delegates from 3 groups that represent all segments of the Khalsa Fund. So geographic regions, Fund-wide organizations, respected Gursikhs and scholars, can meet regularly or as needed. And like Sanveer said, only consider major issues. So issues that affect the entire fund, like Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Beadbi. Issues that are important globally, because we are part of, global community, things like climate change, or if like a group of Sikhs are in severe danger. As the Sarbat Khalsa, when they meet, they will draft matas that lay out clear, action-oriented goals, which will then be ratified as good matas by the Khalsa Fund giving assent to Jod Milas. You can appoint jathedars that are responsible to make sure that those good matas are carried out. So, Panch Pyare, they'll be based out of the Khalsa, and they'll exercise the sovereign power of Guru Nanak Sahib. So they'll be composed of outstanding Sikhs of the highest caliber. They can provide guidance, clarification, and leadership through issuing of hukamname. And they will have the final say on funding issues, so the Supreme Court and executive function. And instead of one jathedar, we have never had one leader. We've always had collective leadership, and the fund participated in these decisions. So what will the Akal Takht be? So first and foremost, a sovereign institution free from all political and foreign interference. We're envisioning the Akal Takht having different offices and departments that will manage global affairs of the fund professionally and reliably. You can have different offices like Gurmat Affairs or Global Humanitarian Work or Foreign Affairs. The Akal Takht will provide emissaries to represent the fund with nations and international bodies. Of course, there's a lot of questions, right? So how will the regions be decided? How will we govern these regions? We can say similarly, it can be run the same way as the Akal Takht is run, like a federal parliament and a provincial parliament. And they'll be run on the same principles as the global fund, but you can have a fund level structure replicated at a lower level. So a regional Sarbat Khalsa, a regional Panch Pyare. Because remember, the Gurus gave us sovereignty, and they made us sovereign, and we are not run by one person, one body. We govern ourselves. Imagine a central authority you have a voice in that is democratic and responsive. Imagine a central authority you don't have to be ashamed of or make excuses for. Imagine knowing that you have professional, Gurmat-based departments to assist you and provide leadership to you and your local community. Imagine knowing your fund is free from outside interference. The Akal Takht is free by sovereign and sovereign by definition. As a fund, it's our duty to realize that freedom and fulfill our destiny as a Qawm. So Guru Har Gobind Sahib is our master, not any leader, jatha, group, political party, or government. We have to operate from a place of grace, compassion, idealism, and Chardi Kala. We cannot judge, we cannot criticize. We have to be careful not to create divisions. We have to be inclusive, welcome everybody's opinions, thoughts, ideas. With faith and trust in the Guru, these goals are achievable. The fund freed South Asia from the British colonialism in 33 years. The fund freed Punjab from Mughal and Afghani rule in 3 generations. We don't have to be cynical. We are a community based in Chardi Kala. Imagine the Sikhs who we talked about this, surviving the jungles, they believed it when they said, Raj Karega Khalsa Akhi Rahe Na Koi. We are here because they had faith in our Gurus and they fought for their beliefs. We have to imagine, would a Sikh of today have the same beliefs? Guru Har Gobind Sahib's odds in a lot of his battles were like in orders of 100 to 1, 5,000 to 1. Yet we still fought and we won those battles. It's hard not to become cynical and lose the spirit of action. But we have fought and prevailed time and time again, and not just for us, but for others, and this should be no different. This is just a starting point. This is just a dialogue, a conversation started, and we're trying to get everybody involved. We want everybody's opinion. We want the fund to unite and create a governance model that reflects our principles and the legacy that the Guruji left us. And a free Akal Takht without Guru's blessings is a reality that can be achieved. So if there's more information on www.koreafilesect.org, and you can look at ways to get involved. I think that's about it. वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह.